I just had one of the craziest days in my life. So in the last video, it was just about me getting stuck in St. Joseph, Missouri because my car broke down and then I ended up staying at a motel. So I'm just gonna pick up my next day from that point. So I woke up in the morning in this dank hotel, you know, it's whatever. I end up going to my car after packing everything up. So the tow truck shows up after about an hour of waiting in my car. I get to ride with him, which is pretty cool. It was super neat being in a tow truck and whatever. This guy was actually, he lived in Lincoln for a while, or like right by Lincoln. And so we got to talk about Nebraska. So he takes me to Marty's, which is the car dealer that I went to that Jim recommended, which is my youth pastor's father who knew this guy who, it's just a bunch of stuff. So he starts the car and actually drives it in. It looked like it ran fine, but apparently he told me later that I wasn't running that good. And so he hoists it up and checks it out, and I find out that it's just a leak. It's a leak on the front seal of the car for the transmission fluid. I don't know if the transmission itself was actually shot or if it was just the fluid, but either way, he said it would cost about $1,000 to fix because he has to remove the transmission to do it. So that's way more than the car's worth. The car is like $600. So I call my dad and I'm like, yo, this is going on. You know, what's the next step? So we decided that we're actually just gonna sell the car there for scrap, probably, unless somebody takes it for more, and then we're gonna maybe look for a used car. And my dad's like 4 hours away, but he was planning on driving down because he needed to bring the title of the car in order to actually sell it or get it off of our hands so we could hand the title over to someone else. And he would also pick me up and take me back to Nebraska, which is actually where I am. I am in my room. There is Bert, me and Chris's old pet. So I get the information for the scrapyard a little far away, and I longboard there. It's like half a mile away, and guys, I'm telling you, dude, this place looked like a car graveyard. It was like on the side of this weird country road that was relatively busy. It was like 2 lanes, and then there's a bunch of trees in this driveway in between the trees, and then you pass the trees and it's this sea of cars, dude. It's a sea of broken cars and this like shaggy, this like old-fashioned falling apart little shack thing in the middle, and that was the main office. And dude, it felt like I was driving into a video game all day. I'm getting to that, but all day it felt like I was just like in this video game, like Grand Theft Auto or something, in these like shabby, like sketchy places. It was dope. So I go in there and the guy says that he would buy it for $125. It's a 2001 Taurus, so it was kind of out of date and the transmission was bad, which is usually what Tauruses need, which we'll find out more throughout this video as well. He probably wouldn't be able to sell it much for parts, so he's like $125, and I was like, awesome, at least it's something. So for the rest of the day, dude, well, at least until about 1:30, I was longboarding to different used car places that were in that area of town. I probably longboarded at least over 5 miles for hours longboarding. And guys, I'm telling you, dude, it was like just going into random places, and like just everyone was different, and like some were super shady and some were a little nicer, but most of them were pretty shady. And I'd walk in and be like some of them seemed really like respectable business people, so I'd like present myself as like this guy who's looking for a used car and all this stuff. Most of them were way too high priced for what I was looking for. I was looking for at least under 1,000. Hopefully somebody would be able to take the Taurus off my hands, but nobody wanted it because it's an old Taurus. It's funny because every dealer I'd talk to, once I said it was a 2001 Taurus, they'd be like, give me this look. You know, they give me this look, not like a bad look, but this look like a cheesy like smile, like, oh, a Taurus. They're like, I bet I can guess what's wrong with it. It's the transmission, isn't it? And I would always be like, how did you know? Because like everybody was saying that, every single dealer. Is hilarious. But like I'd walk into these places, like one of them like was this gal, and she was like all tatted up, and the place was like full of like tires and car parts, and there's a bunch of used cars outside, and this like all the concrete was cracked. Dude, it like broken down houses and like old rusted shacks and stuff. You'd walk in, there's like metal playing and like smells like smoke, and you just walk in and be like, yo, I'm looking for this used car. This one place, I went to this auto body, and this guy referred me because I was asking around about other auto bodies too, or like auto used car shops and stuff. And this one guy, like I was talking to these two guys, this one guy was like, oh yeah, there's this one down the road, Lake turns into Hill Street or whatever, and then you find it on the right. And he was like, tell him when you get there that the deputy sent you. And like he said as if his name was obviously the deputy, and that's what he was known by. It's like this guy had a street name, dude, and the street name somehow had some kind of credibility with this other dealer. It was like so interesting. And dude, it was just so surreal and weird and crazy and fun the whole time. The most interesting scenarios, like I walked into this one auto body and he was a dude with like this gold chain. He was like bald and whatever. And like we were talking about all the stuff. I was sitting there, we ended up talking talking about life. I told him that I was in college this last year, and I told him a bit of like that stuff. We ended up talking, and his dad breeds cats or something, and his dad has traveled to like Hungary and stuff, because you guys don't even know this, might as well say this. Ryan Franklin, the guy at Team Expansion, actually said that he's talking to a couple guys that he thinks I'd fit really well with, and it's either in Hungary or Taiwan. So pretty different places, but might be one of those two. So I mentioned that, and he said that his father has traveled to Hungary, or he's been wanting to or something, to find these like cat breeds. And so then he got his like buddy that like worked with him who's younger, and he was like, hey, and he showed up and he was like, hey, could you give him a ride back to this car dealer? And I was like, dude, sick. I was like, awesome. So like I was riding with him, telling him a bit about my life and stuff, and it turns out this guy just got out of prison, like federal prison, for like a long time. I was just talking to the guy like a normal guy, and I was like, yeah man, like life's hard, dude, but at least you're on your feet, bro. You got a job one night. He's like, yeah, I've been friends with that guy for like 20 years, and man, we kind of started it together, but like then I went to prison. He's kind of taken off without me, but he's like, it's just so surreal, dude. Like, just crazy different people that are all like kind of connected. And there was beef, dude. There's beef between the auto shops. I was at one earlier, like the citywide auto dealer or something, and then later I got into that place with the girl with the tats that I was talking about, where it smelled like smoke and it was playing like metal and stuff. I mentioned that somebody referred me to her, and she was like, oh, I bet it was it like citywide or something. She's like, I don't like the way they operate. I don't operate anything like them. And she was like, I definitely wouldn't refer you to those guys. I doubt they would actually refer you to me. And I was like, oh yeah, no, it wasn't them. But like there was clearly beef. She was like, yeah, I don't like the way they operate. She was like, go to this place. This guy named Jeff might hook you up. He's like down the road. And I went there, and there was like this like teenage guy, or like maybe early 20s, and he's just with this other dude, and they're like just hanging out, you know, like baggy clothes, everything like that, chains. And I like walk up and start like talking to him. I'm like, yo, I need this used car, you know, could you hook me up? And he was like, yeah, we just started. Like, it was just such a weird culture, dude, the whole stretch of places. And then I went back, I went to McDonald's, and I sat down and waited for my dad and stuff, and just chilled and like got some stuff done on my MacBook. And I was so tired by that point, but overall, dude, it was such an adventure and such a good day. So we go back to the auto body. My dad gets in town, we take the car, we put some fluid in it. My dad manages to drive it to the place about half a mile away. We're dumping it off, and I had some very meaningful moments, dude. I love that car. It's taken me so many places. I mean, I guess mostly it's taken me to Joplin, Missouri, time and time again. We sold it, we left it there, and that was the last time I saw my car. I got some pictures and videos, and you know what? Here's some of the clips of my beloved 2001 Taurus, whom I've had for about a year, and whose transmission gallantly failed. It ultimately drove the car to its demise as it was attempting to fulfill my destiny in reaching Joplin, Missouri. Here is my tribute to my 2001 Taurus. Here is my car, so sad and pathetic, in front of Marty's. Oh, it can't even move, poor thing. Well, we managed to drive it over, and here it rests. It's car graveyard resting place right here. I've loved this car very much. It's done me well and driven far. Driven from Missouri to Nebraska many times. I love you. I love you, 2001 Taurus, and I'll miss you. Rest in peace here at your beautiful graveyard site. But it wasn't meant to be. But it wasn't meant to be. But it wasn't meant to be. That car was a stallion, man. He was no Mustang, but he was in fact a stallion. Then I drove back to Nebraska with my dad, and now I'm back, and it was one of the craziest like 24 hours on my own of my life, dude. It was so fun. And I can't wait. I was thinking the whole time, like, I can't wait to have situations where I'm alone and it's just crazy with a bunch of strangers in these crazy subcultures that I've never been a part of. Can't wait to have more adventures with you guys. Especially if it's in Hungary or Taiwan, man. It's nuts. Peace out, doggos.